So today we're going to make a master copy. And there are lots of good reasons to make a master copy, and my favorite reason is that I love a painting and I just want to understand how the artist pulled whatever it is off. How did they manage to get that translucence in the skin, or how did they get that soft atmospheric feeling, or how did they manage to make something look realistic but still have that wonderful feeling of being made by hand with paint. So our objective, I've written here, is to decode the artist's set of strategies. To decode the artist's set of strategies. So I want you to be thinking, kind of like a detective, what sort of strategies did the artist put in place in order to make this painting? So some of you have seen this example of a painting by John Singer Sargent. It's a portrait of Vernon Lee, which was a pseudonym for a friend of his named Violet Paget. And she had this pseudonym because she was an author of texts on Renaissance art. And I loved it because it was, a lot of Sargent paintings are monumental. They're huge, the portrait paintings. But I loved it because it appeared to me like a spontaneous, quick sketch. Like she's come over for tea and she's agreed to sit for him. And in fact, it is a study that was done in 3 hours, okay, from start to finish. So it's definitely an alla prima painting. And there are elements that feel so unfinished that I thought if I painted it, I could actually get into his method a little bit, like get a sneak peek behind the scenes, if you will, right? So I'm looking at this side of the painting and you see all this brushwork. In fact, you even see the toned ground there, that he's got some kind of primed linen or canvas, but it's not a bright white. It looks like it's toned to a slightly neutral gray. So let's just go ahead and look at some of these elements in a painting that are involved in the set of strategies an artist used. The first one is format. Did the artist choose a horizontal format, a vertical format? The next is to understand the choice of materials, and he's an oil painter. So obviously there's this affinity that I'm going to try and execute in oil what he created in oil. I'm not going to try and execute something in oil that was created in watercolor, right? So we have to consider that a little bit carefully. And we need to consider carefully the materials. Is it on panel? Is it on canvas? Is it on a canvas with a very tight portrait weave? Or is it on a canvas with a very large kind of open weave? And scale is another thing that we need to think about. The scale has something to do with how the viewer is going to experience the painting. And we also think about scale. Well, there are two things. One is the scale of the object being depicted. Is it life size? Is it less than life size? Is it larger than life size? I'm thinking of Chuck Close, some of those portraits, right? And then that has a distinct relationship to the kind of perceived distance between the viewer and the subject that's being depicted in the painting. Is it up close and intimate, right? Or is there a certain kind of psychological distance that allows us a little bit more space? And I think all figurative painting has this element of voyeurism in it. That we're having a kind of look into a private world.